make a positive difference. My name is Jeff Hunter, and I'm your platform assistant this morning. Please take a moment now, silence your cell phones, but before you do that, check in and tell everybody that you're here. We need to spread the word. This is a wonderful place. And also, they can tune into Unity Spiritual Center live online. Let them know that too. We want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I'll say it once, and then I'll ask you to repeat it with me. There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. This is Unity's foundation principle. One presence, one power, one life living through and as each one of us. This morning we will hear from Dr. Gary, who will be sharing the Sunday message entitled, How Not to Be Triggered When Judged. And Dennis will be leading us in the meditation. And we are being blessed today musically by, I think, one of the finest choirs in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not prejudiced at all. Our choir is here today to open up the year, and I really do think for a community choir, we are one of the best. Yes. And that, a lot of it goes to you and Tony. Thank you. So let's sing our community song.
Yes, let's do it. If you can stand with me this morning, that would be great. And we're going to sing Daniel's Get Ready, My Soul.
Closer, closer, closer. We'd like to welcome everybody here, of course, and I wanted to make sure that you knew this was just a time for announcements, right? And announcements are wonderful because what that says is we've got a community that is alive and vibrant and just getting stuff done. So the first thing I wanted to remind you of is that we've got spirit groups. We're going to launch on September 23rd, and this is a wonderful time to find the group that you fit in. There's the bulletin board out there in the fellowship hall. And just talk to people, because the community experience here is wonderful, but there's something special when you meet for several weeks with 6 or 7 or 8 people. You will be friends with those people for the rest of your life. I mean, and it's very, very meaningful. So make sure you find your spirit group. Second thing I'd like to mention is about treats. The choir brought the treats today, as well as singing. Let's give them a hand. And next Sunday, I've decided that people 5'9" or under should bring the treats. And contrary to popular opinion, I'm near 6 foot. Now, I was telling everybody in the last service that I didn't pick 5'9" just randomly. My understanding from looking online is that the average American male is 5'9 and a half. And then the September 30th will be the longer potluck, so everybody gets to bring some stuff on that day. And then you can see, as part of the Compassion Games, Hank and Joan Breckling have been really organizing our presence in the Compassion Games, and they'd like to invite you to the Earth and Spirit Fest, because we need a lot of volunteers, and it is a wonderful way for Unity to make its presence known in the community. And it's just a good thing. So please get involved in that. There's a sign up out there, and as you can see, it's on September 22nd.
Here, right? Here at Unity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. Is that correct?
Yes.
As I was saying, it's here at Unity.
Yeah.
And I'd like to invite Pat Chamoy to come up. He's going to tell us a little bit about community membership. Pat?
Thank you, Dennis. So today we have our community membership orientation, and it's a process that Gary leads so that individually we can understand what membership is all about. And so for the details of that, you're welcome to see Gary today after the service at 12:30. A couple months ago, I asked Gary to have an opportunity to come up here and kind of give a testimonial to everyone on what membership has meant to myself. And so before I became a member, I felt that there was you guys and me. It's kind of how it felt. There was a body that existed that kind of made sure that this place kept working, and that there was an environment that sustained this kind of high energy, and that would pretty much go on with or without me. And in a sense, that's true, but then after I decided that this place, which has meant so much to me, has enriched my lives in so many ways, needs for people like, well, to do the things like I did, where you become a member, and so that the center itself knows that I've agreed to hold up what I would say is my end of the partnership. And so that in my regular auto tithing, which is a big part of membership, that I know that this place is sustained I know that when it's summertime and it's beautiful out and I'm not coming to the center Sunday, that it's going to be fine. And then later on, when times are bad and I need a place where my soul feels at home, here's a place. And so that's been sort of the big change in what's happened to me in membership, is just knowing that this place can be sustained. And it's through that can happen. And so I invite anybody who has not already, decided, you know what, maybe it's time to do that. If you feel compelled to go and just see what membership is all about, then today is a really good opportunity for you to do that. And today there's no commitment. It's not like if you show up to the thing, you got to sign up. It's more for your own information, to see if you too want to invest yourself. And in that investment is not only the financial part, it's the energy that you bring to it. And so that means, of course, there's many ways to give. One is financial, and of course, money is just another form of energy. If you look at it that, like, I go and I work, and out of appreciation, my boss gives me money, right? And then out of appreciation, I take a portion of that and bring it here. But I also find ways to become involved, right? And that's another way to enrich your connection within this community. I'm wearing the yellow scarf today because I'm part of the Go Welcoming team. Yeah. Whoop, whoop. The yellow scarves, of course, they're part of the people who are here for the welcoming team. And so if you're here for the first time and you see a yellow scarf, they're a good person to pull up on. They'll probably say hi before you can. And they're also, if you've been here for a while and you want to find things to get involved in, talk to a person in a yellow scarf. We're helping find people's talents and where those can go and be invested into volunteer opportunities. And so that we can enrich this place through the skills and talents that we already have. So that's pretty much everything that I got for you guys. I made some really nice notes, and I left them at home. But I think I covered everything that I intended to. A couple things will probably pop up as soon as I sit down. But thank you all for your time and attention. Like I said, if you want to put on a yellow scarf, go ahead and do that. Anybody can. You don't need to get a green light from anybody. And that's the same for anything else. If you feel compelled to get involved, go ahead and get involved. All right. Well, I thank you all for that. And I believe I'm going to hand this off to David.
Thank you, Pat. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the board chair. I'm not up here for your blood today, although I did give blood today. Anyway, I'm here to talk about the board update and our center update in general. So most of the time, Gary's been doing a wonderful job of the center update for us, but we're changing this up a little bit. Gary will continue to do the center update, but more on about a once-a-month basis. And so on the Sunday after the board meets, typically, we'll be doing a board update of some kind to keep you informed of what's going on with the church. We may be talking about finances. We may be talking about what directions we're going, strategic planning-wise or something like that. And today, I'm going to be talking to you about, if the clicker will work for me. There we go. No, wrong way. Okay, so then in addition to the board update, you will also see on some Sundays the community update. And this is where, the welcoming committee will have a chance to talk. We may be talking about spirit groups, the foundation, Unity Foundation may be up here. And on. But just things of the subgroups within our church talking about their business here. And then in addition, probably once a month or so, we're going to be having spiritual life hacks. For those of you who don't know what a life hack is something that makes your life easier. It might be, how to get that stain out of your shirt. But in the spiritual sense, that spiritual life hack is maybe how to get that stain out of your soul some way. But it's things that our congregation have come up with, ways, tricks to live in the mundane world, being a spiritual being. So they're always fun things. They're always like, wow, why didn't I think of that? So, but anyway, I would like to also, while I'm here, as part of our board update, introduce your board to you. So if you're on the board, come on up here. Let's get you all up here. And of course, not everybody is at this service because some of them are in bed and things like that. So, of course, we have Gary and Jane on the board. Yeah, come on up here, guys. So, coming over here, we got Karen Dunmore, and we've got Judy Jameson, and Christy Lapke, and my mind's going blank here, Jim Sledge, Serena Loren, of course, myself, Gary Howard, and let's see who we're missing today. Jane's not here, yeah. And Jackie usually joins us. And Joan Breckling, as well as on your board. So, and it, also if you have concerns about things, you want to know about finances in between board updates and those kinds of things, feel free to ask any of us about something you're concerned about or something you want to know about. In particular, finances, Jim Sledge being our treasurer is the guy to hit up for that. But any of us should be able to answer questions on that kind of thing. So, thank you for all of your work, folks.
We have a great meditation song, My Soul Sings Out. It was brought to us by Jennifer Russell. Check out her website. She has lots of fun and interesting things to share.
So let's take a few minutes now in meditation. I invite you to put down anything that you might be holding, just so that we can completely give ourselves permission to relax into the moment. And feeling and experiencing the sense of God in our lives is always an act of permission. Because the Spirit of God is always there. Always. So we breathe in. And with that breath, we move deeply inside. Deeply inside the Spirit of God within. And when we do that, we know the Spirit of God awakens within me now. The Spirit of God awakens within me now. It is the truth of us. It's who we are. When we move past all the human ego, the human consciousness, the Spirit of God awakens within me now. Your soul does indeed sing out to you and says, here I am. And I've been waiting so long. The Spirit of God awakens within me now, taking me deeper, giving me that sacred identity, that sacred truth. The Spirit of God awakens within me now. It is who and what I am, always. We are a holy, holy, holy child of God. We are a channel expressing the Spirit of God through us, but the Spirit of God is also within us. The Spirit of God awakens within us. Let's know that. Let's feel that. Let's experience it. As we take it in silence, the Spirit of God awakens within me now. God, teach me. Love me. Hold me in that sacred space. Help me discover the truth of who and what I am. The Spirit of God awakens within me now. And so it is. Thank you, God. Amen.
My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you.
Sing it out with us now, everybody. One last time.
My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you.
Okay. So I was wanting to do a talk this time, building upon what I did the last time I spoke, which was 2 weeks ago. I did a talk called How to Manifest a Greater Good. And a lot of you thought that was really a great talk, and so I watched it online, and I thought, yeah, it was not so bad. And I could even understand it, too. That was really the great thing about that talk. It's just really clear. So I wanted to actually share some more things about that, and but I'm especially like following the threads, how to follow the threads to kind of be doing your part with respect to being on the lookout for your greater good, as opposed to, you know, setting a time and a date when something has to happen and then being disappointed when it doesn't happen. To rather work with this field of infinite possibilities and align with the process, the mechanism that brings forth the greater good. And so I want to share more about that. But what I'm wanting to do, I'm going to talk about how not to get triggered when someone judges you. We're going to look at that. Anybody ever get triggered? Judged? Okay, good. All right. So I'm wanting us to really look at this whole idea of how and why we do what we do. And Dr. Joe Dispenza has a wonderful saying. He says that if you can understand the why, the science, the principles, the why something is possible, why it works, the how you attain it, how you put it into practice becomes so much easier. And so, for instance, meditation becomes so much easier if you understand that you're moving out of a beta brainwave, kind of busy mind, and settling your nervous system and acquiring an alpha state of consciousness. And if you understand that that's a part of why why you need to kind of sit quietly and turn your attention inward, because you have to align with how our brain works if you're going to get the benefit out of that practice. And so as Jane and I are in this process of trying to look at what life practices do we need to be busy about with respect to helping to not only transform our own lives, but also to help create a world that works for everybody. In that effort to kind of do that, in addition to applying spiritual practice to our life experience, in other words, waking up, growing up, cleaning up, and showing up, and later on, if you come to the membership orientation, signing up will be a new phase that we're going to introduce you to. But the idea is that if we are in that effort to consciously awaken, consciously transform our life, we need to understand the why underlying the spiritual practices. And so I want to make that point because it's important that you know that, especially in unity and new thought, the why is really important because we need the science, we need the spiritual principles, we need the brain research to help us understand the whole mechanism of transformation, the whole mechanism that manifests our own personal reality. We need to understand it so we can work with it, so we can leverage it, as opposed to just be in the wishful intent to hope for a better life, given that that's what God wants, but yet at the same time, we have to evolve to a place where we're no longer looking outside of ourselves to be rescued or saved, but we recognize that there is a power, there is a presence that we are the outlet for, that we are the localized expression of. And as we tap into that potential, we become more motivated, but we still need to understand the why underlying the how of anything that we take on. And so I'm wanting to look at judgment, how to not get triggered, so that you get to see that when I explain why, you need to not react to someone's judgment. And then after you understand, oh, okay, that's what's going on, then you'll see, okay, the how, the thing that you have to do not to get triggered becomes so much easier because you recognize it's just more than just not judging. I mean, when Jesus says, take no thought for your life, how do you do that? Well, if we understand the why, it's absolutely essential that we kind of intervene with respect to the busyness of what's happening inside our head. If we understand that that's our job, then we're just not going to let our minds just run loose without knowing that part of our responsibility is to take ownership of what this mind-body entity is doing. So so as we get connected to this work, you know, and so any how-to, if we understand, okay, whatever I'm attempting to accomplish that kind of moves my effort into creating an awareness and interaction with the internal part of me, if I'm wanting to engage in a process that transcends my self-imposed limitations, I'm going to have to completely understand the mechanism that has placed those limitations into my programming. I'm going to have to understand that, okay, how I've been programmed, what I have made my life mean is part of what I have to do the intervention on. You know, I have to kind of correct the context of how I'm taking in my life. If I'm not taking in my life as if it's for me, and if I make the mistake of thinking that it's against me, then I'm going to step out of alignment with what I have to do and honor in terms of the circuitry that I have to work with to manifest a greater good. And so I explained last time in this talk, and this is just a smudging of a review, so you kind of understand that, yes, we all understand that a greater good is possible, but the how-to part, it eludes us. And in almost any endeavor that we try to move into to improve ourselves, there's always the how. How is that going to happen? How is that possible? And so we create a kind of stuck place for ourselves because the how lives in the context of our pain points or what we're trying to overcome or what's kind of motivating us. But if we can focus on the why is it that I have to manifest a greater good? Why is that important? Why is it that I have to not react to someone's judgment? And then when we understand, absolutely, I cannot anymore react to someone's judgment. I cannot anymore place my well-being dependent upon what's happening out there. I have to own it all. And then if we understand that's what we have to do, and we understand how do I do that now, then we have to get underneath it and get at why. Okay. So just as I mentioned last time, that we have this understanding that, you know, Jesus says, you know, lift up your eyes, the fields are already white unto the harvest. Basically, what we're trying to understand is that we're out of phase with this dimension of life called spirit, or called the field, or called the realm of infinite possibilities. We're out of phase with that dimension of ourself that's infinite, that's eternal, that's not limited by any earthly experience. And so when we understand that we can access that dimension of ourself that is this potential, that is the intent of God to bring forth through us the life that contributes to making the world a better place for everyone, when we understand that that is the ground of our being, and then we look around and see, well, that's not happening for me, then we have to understand that the problem is not out there. The problem is we're out of phase. So how do we get back into phase with it? And so as we work with the whole idea of manifesting the greater good, part of our getting back into phase with things is understanding that what we put out has to come back. And so if we're putting out all the static, all this stuff, all this worry, all this fear, then that kind of has to be mirrored back to us. But when we understand that whatever greater good that we hunger and thirst for already exists in the field of infinite possibility as a potential, it doesn't matter what it is, it's already there, just as everything else we don't want in our life is already there. Every possible situation is already in the field. We just have to dial it in. You know, every possibility has a URL address. For those of you who are over 40, I'll explain what that means. It means that there's a frequency, that every possible scenario, as we dial in that frequency, that possibility, what we first need to know that our thoughts have to embrace that specific thing. That's what kind of notices what it is that's out there. And then our emotional state, how we feel within ourselves in relationship to this potentiality, keeps us connected to that. Okay, is that not advanced? Okay, so the whole idea of understanding that knowing that our greater good requires of us, the reason why we can manifest a greater good is that because our thoughts enter into the field and then our feelings draw that back into our life. And if we understand that, then we understand why we cannot think in terms of how is this going to happen or when is it going to happen, because we separate ourselves from our connection to that infinite field the moment that we ask and enter into those questions. Can you see how that's so? And can you see how your efforts, I can see how my efforts have always failed the moment that I have placed the burden of whatever it is that I'm trying to draw into my life, whenever I require it to reveal itself on time. And in according to how I want it to happen. You see, the God says, I can't work with you if that's the case. And God requires a field of infinite possibilities, because we just can't have it our way. So we have to be able to stay connected to this greater good without separating from it by virtue of what we're having as our actual life experience. Because if our brain goes to, well, it's not happening now, we separate ourselves from it. So now we're understanding why we can't use when or how is this going to happen as a part of manifesting a greater good. So it's that information that enables us to be more steadfast in the practice of staying connected to the felt sense of what it is that we're trying to draw into our life. And I mentioned that there are various techniques that help us do that, such as mind movies or the to-done list. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. So what I'm wanting us to see is that I'm going to tell you how not to get triggered. And I'm going to tell you, and when I tell you how, you're going to kind of freeze. Because the how part is not going to make sense. But as I explain why it works, after I'm done, you'll never ever want to react to someone's judgment again. Okay? Because you'll understand why reacting to someone's judgment is actually making the judgment about you instead of about what the judgment's really about. So if we understand that that's really an underlying dynamic, it kind of wakes us up a bit. So for instance, here goes. Here's the tech. Oh, first of all, let me say this. I forgot about this slide. That any how-to ultimately is any how-to with respect to transforming our life or evolving out of our limiting beliefs requires that our spiritual practice take us out of this self-system. Can you see how that's important? That we have to exit our habits of being if we're to actually step out of and create different ways in which we express ourselves in our world. And so meditation, the Q process, any spiritual practice that you apply always takes you out of the habits of being your old self. In order for you to recondition your body to a different self-system, we have to understand that this is the objective. And so what I'm just going to suggest to you that how you practice not being triggered requires that you be able to see that ultimately what you're trying to do is retrain this circuitry. You're trying to create a different habit of being when someone is judging you. And so it's not about just using magic words, it's about understanding what you're actually trying to create in terms of internal shifts. So you're no longer just reactive in your life. When someone judges you, you just react. No, now what we want to do is we want to see that someone's judgment is really for us. And what if every judgment was for us? And so if we're to find that out, we have to understand what judgments are really about. What's really going on what's really happening for you when you are judging somebody else. If we want to dive into what's behind that, then we'll maybe see what's really going on. And so here's the practice. When someone judges you, this is how you're going to train yourself not to be triggered by someone's judgment. When someone judges you, this is what you do. You say, tell me more. Okay, if you just do that and practice that, you will cease to be triggered by someone's judgment. Now, you're probably wondering, well, no way. What's up with that? So what if I was to tell you truly that there is no judgment that's about you, but that every time you react to someone's judgment, you make it about you? What if that's what's really underlying the judgment? Now, I'm not allowed to tell stories about Jane without her being present, so I have to talk about a different past lifetime. So I'm going to talk about my previous wife, Nan. She would, this is back in the day when I did quite a bit of traveling. I worked for the Ministry for Peacemaking for the International Association of United Churches, where I facilitated conflict management and peacemaking processes for the unity movement. And so I would get home from a trip, and she said to me, Gary, you never take me out to dinner. And I go, what do you mean I never take you out to dinner? Don't you remember our last conversation about dinner? Chinese, Mexican, Chinese, Mexican, Chinese, Mexican. You know, and so I have eyewitnesses that'll testify that I have taken you out to dinner. You know, so here I am in my kind of defense, kind of reacting to her accusation that I never take her out to dinner. But is it really about dinner when she says, Gary, you never take me out to dinner? What is it really about? Who knows what it's about? You don't know what it's about until you do a couple of things. And that is, the first thing is, you have to say, well, tell me more. That's right. And so you see, we're not equipped to do something that is counterintuitive, because we don't understand that when someone is judging us, they're unskillfully trying to get our attention. But when we unskillfully react to their judgment, now I make it about me and my sense of inadequacy that's showing up now, because I don't like being accused of not taking her out to dinner, because that makes me feel like I'm a disappointment, and I got that sucker on my cue card, and I don't like that mirrored back to me. And guess what? That's what all judgment is doing, is mirroring your shadow card when you react to it. But you know, eventually you find the cue process and you discover what limiting belief is underlying it. But if you have a condition, if you have a habit of reacting to when someone judges you by showing up in that judgment, needing to be right, having to have things be a certain way, it doesn't matter if you understand that the bottom line issue is that, bless you, that you're reacting to some limiting belief internally, and that's how you're showing up, you know, needing to be right. But you still have to address the behavior and the karma that you create when you react to the judgment. And so if we understand that a judgment is really about, you know, about the person, and it's not about you. There is no judgment that is about you that warrants your defensiveness. There is none. I'll prove it. Let me set down my device. Okay, let's come to this. Judge me. Go ahead, judge me.
You're crazy.
It's not about me. See, you can't judge me without going into the disconnect. You can't. I mean, think about whenever you are judging somebody else, what is your judgment about? It's not about the other person. It's about what's missing for you. What you're not connected to, you see. And so if we understand that someone's judgment is really about not you, let's just say if we can get to a place where the judgment is not about us, and that if we react to the judgment, we make it about us, then what must a judgment really be about if it's not about us, but it's for us? What if every judgment is really for us, but not about us? Okay? So let's see what we can do with that kind of thinking. So when someone judges us, it may be about what's missing in the relationship. Can you see how someone's judgment could be about what's missing in the relationship? They're just trying to get our attention, and they're making us the matter with them, but it's really about something that's missing in the relationship. Of course, you've never done that, have you? Of course, we don't know what that's like, but we can talk about it. So whenever there's something missing in our relationship and we lack the ability to go to the person and basically share, look at this is what I'm noticing, this is what I need right now. Instead, we say, well, why do you do this? You always, you never. And then we react, we bounce off of each other's shadow card. A relationship could be about what's missing for the person. And we've talked about when we have unmet needs and we're placing the burden of our well-being on somebody out there to meet those needs, we are setting ourselves up. And finally, a judgment could be about what we said or what we did, which is not about me. I can say or do things and have you react because, I'm off that day, or I'm hungry or tired or alone or afraid, or whatever is what the context of my inappropriate behavior. Your judgment is still not about me when I'm being inappropriate. It's about my behavior. And I can own that. I can welcome you reflecting back to me that my behavior is creating a disconnect. It's still not about me, it's about my behavior. And when I'm clear to differentiate the difference between who I am and what I have and what people are experiencing, then that's useful information for people to tell me how I'm showing up and creating some kind of a discord. Because if I value the relationship, those three things are information that I need to know if I value the relationship. Now, as I close here, bless you, as I close, I'm wanting to emphasize that in this effort to kind of teach you this process of saying, tell me more, you don't want to do that with everyone who judges you. So you want to practice this in relationships that you value. Because if you're going to just do this with someone who is kind of not involved in this practice, you may find that tell me more leads to more abuse or poor behavior. So what we're really after is in the process of, for instance, if Nan would say to me, Gary, you never take me out to dinner, I would say more about that. And then she would proceed. She'd proceed to share with me how she's affected when I'm not present. And then I must continue to say, well, share more about how it's like for you when I'm gone. And then she has to go through all the ways in which she is put upon or otherwise challenged by the fact that I'm not present to assist in the multiple ways in which her life can go wrong. And so I have to be willing to welcome that information, because after a while, eventually it'll land on, and all I really want is to be with you. And so when it lands on what it's really about, that's the gift. And we never get to that part of it in most relationships when we're reactive, when we don't know what that's about. And then when it finally lands there, then we can say yes or no to what's being asked. I can say, well, gee whiz, I'm just right off the plane, and I can't be with you right now. Let me have a day to recover, and we'll plan a date together or something like that. You see, you don't have to feel like you have to please everyone in that moment, but you do have to be willing to say yes or no, and come from a place of really that compassion and care. And so this is a small thing to be able to just kind of alter the behavior. We'll say more and just see what happens. You know, if you're a parent and you have a teenager, See what happens? But you have to be willing to know that what comes through is may be unskillful, it may land on you, and if it lands on you, you have tools, you have a cue process, you can do stuff. But as you're able to say more and welcome it, you give the person a sense that what matters most is not who's right, but who's willing to care. You know, and so that's our effort. And so I'll just leave you with, once again, don't feel obligated to do that with everybody in the world, but don't miss the opportunity to do this with the people who are closest to you, because they will be transformed by this act. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what else to say except thank you. It's amazing what comes out of his mouth sometimes. It truly is. Thank you. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names of God, many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power, one presence, and one life. So wherever you are on your journey, and whatever your transformation is, you are always welcome here. We'd like to especially welcome people who might be here for the first time. If this is your first time visiting, and you feel comfortable raising your hand, our ushers have a packet for you. On the outside of the packet is a slip of paper that you can fill out and put it in the offertory today instead of feeling obligated to give a gift. And give us your information. We have a weekly e-newsletter and a quarterly newsletter. And you can also take that packet and take it to the barista stand and get a free drink of your choice today, and take it to the bookstore and get a copy of today's.
That's a talking stick.
All right, I know it's not a talking stick. I'm blessing everybody. I know my own roots. All right, who's here for the first time? Raise your hand. Let us. Oh, thank you. We're so glad you're here today. Let's give her a round of applause. We also want to welcome our viewers online, and thank you for joining us this morning. So now it's time to greet everybody with a handshake, a hug, a namaste. What?
We have another one over here.
She already got a packet. Did you already get your packet? Yeah, she did. Okay. Yes. All right, let's do our welcome song. Everybody stand.
Please stand up again. We're going to sing the gathering in song.
We are
I love playing with that gong thing. They just need bigger ones, but it's on my wish list. My name is Jim Sledge. I am the treasurer on your board of trustees, and this is the time in our service where we acknowledge and appreciate your financial contributions to this amazing place called Unity Spiritual Center. And it doesn't matter whether you're giving on an automatic basis or whether you're swiping or punching or whatever, we appreciate your gifts. Thank you very much. So with that in mind, let's join together and say our prosperity blessing. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. And so it is.
So it's nice to have our choir back this fall. Thank you guys. It's a nice big group. We're actually missing about 7 people today, and so it could be even bigger. And it's not too late to join. We meet Thursday nights at 7 in case you're interested in coming and singing with our choir. The song is called Who Has Seen the Wind? It's a beautiful, perfect song for the fall. And the wind is a metaphor, metaphorically speaking. The wind is the spirit. So think of it.
Passing through the wind is passing
our blessing, our love offering blessing. We give thanks for these gifts and for those who have given them as we send them forth to bless our world. And as we're giving thanks for the gifts we are receiving at the Unity Spiritual Center, we want to take time to thank all those in service to our community. Today we are saying a very special thank you to our chaplains, our prayer chaplains. Would all prayer chaplains please stand? If you've been a prayer chaplain, currently are a prayer chaplain, would you please stand so that we can give you our undying gratitude and love for the wonderful things that you do and what you hold for us. Let's give them a big round of applause. And our special chaplains today are Murphy and Ocean. Aren't I lucky? These, yes, come up here. Stand with me. I like bookends. It's fun. You know, these two people are very, very special to me and to our church. Our chaplains hold the high watch for us, always. And if you have a joy today, if you have a sorrow, if you have anything you want to talk about at all, these two ladies are here for you. They'll be in the front, and they will listen, they will pray with you, and they are angels for us. Thank you for your service. We appreciate both of you very much. Got to turn the page. All right, you can also fill out a prayer request that's found in the seat pocket in front of you and put it in one of our prayer boxes, either in the foyer or behind me. Our prayer team will pray with you for 7 days. It'll be sent on to Silent Unity to be prayed on for another 30 days. And if you know of someone who is in the hospital and has actually requested a visit from one of our chaplains, there is a visitation form you can fill out in the seat back pocket. Say that 4 times. Seat back pocket. And place that also in the prayer box. So our children have arrived, I think. No? Yes? Maybe? But if we start singing, maybe they will come, okay? We are singing for His words of life. 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 We are singing. Oh, we are singing for His words of life. We are singing. Oh, we are singing for His words of life. 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 We are singing. Oh, we are singing for His words of life. We are singing. Oh, we are singing for His words of life. We are singing for His words of life. All right. We have a special treat today. Aurelia?
There she is.
Oh, you went to Indonesia?
Yeah.
And you want to say something to the folks in Indonesian?
Sure.
A blessing, maybe?
Like, sure.
All right, well. Hey, I'm only doing what I'm told up here, you know. I'm not winging it. I was told you do that. You don't have to. This is not, all right, here you go.
Okay, halo, apa kabar semua? Terima kasih untuk semua. Saya mau semua ada lebih bagus dan sehat. So that meant hello. I hope that you guys all do continue to do very well, and I hope that everyone is healthy.
I can barely handle English. Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. We bless all of you, all of the children, the young people that are here. The reason we bless them is because we know in our hearts this is our future right in front of us, right? Yes. This is our future. So we bless you, and we're really glad you're here today. And we're extra especially glad that the people who work with you on an ongoing basis are here. And we bless you, and we see the light in all of you because you do that. So let's bless them now with our blessing, and we'll bless them, we'll bless ourselves. Ready? Be the love you are. Sing the song you hear. Share your joy of life with people far and near. And let's bless ourselves. Be the love we are. Sing the song we hear. Share our joy of life with people far and near. We love you and we bless you. Find the people you came with. Thank you. Okay, please stand as you are able and join together for our closing prayer, followed by the peace song. Ready. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth. Check out the community member orientation, 12:30. See you then.